April 1st, 2024. Some relevant news about what we will be seeing as we're approaching April 8th, 2024. So far, there's no real activity on the sun. That's a good news report as of today. But yesterday, there was an M class solar flare that was March 31st, and there is a lot of activity as of yesterday, but today there wasn't. As we're approaching this April 8th solar eclipse, we should be watching for what will be coming, as there's going to be a planetary alignment, and there will be, of course, the solar eclipse that is going to be in the path of the New Madrid fault line. Some interesting stories that I picked up on suspicious observers. If you're interested in knowing more about that, I thought it was interesting because I know as the days are approaching with that, Cetus, the whale, that is the constellation that will be above the solar eclipse. That's interesting because Jonah, Texas is one of the cities that will be in the path of that, of the solar eclipse, and not to mention 11 cities named Nineveh. Should we just say sign of Jonah? Yeah. If anybody doesn't know what that means, the sign of Jonah is mentioned in the Bible as it states in the scripture. And I'll read the scripture if you don't know what the scripture says about that. I'm sure you've heard it. If you haven't, it's mentioned, and I will get to it here in a second. It says, in the NIV version says this: "And wicked and adulterous generation looks for a sign, but none will be given except for a sign of Jonah. Jesus then left them and went away." And that's Matthew 16:4. I'm sure you probably wonder what that might mean to some of you who don't read the Bible. But for the people that do read the Bible, I think you get it. I'm speaking to most people that read the Bible and understand what's going on. But for the people that don't read the Bible, when you have a solar eclipse going through Jonah, Texas, Cetus the whale, and the story of Jonah going into Nineveh, it's basically the same story playing out again. And this time, Jesus replied, "The only sign I'm going to give you is the sign of Jonah." Meaning it's a warning shot for Jesus to say that, "I warned you." And then when you see a big X across the United States, that's another warning. Now, in End Times headlines, I'm going to link this in the description box below. You can watch the whole show because it's worth watching. He goes into talking about Sodom and Gomorrah. Me personally, I wouldn't take any of this personal about what happened yesterday, because that is not the true date of Jesus's Passover. When Jesus had Passover dinner with the disciples, it was during Passover, and that's April 22nd, if we're biblically correct. He died on the weekend of Passover. So if we're looking at the Hebrew calendar, it would be in April. So the Roman Catholic holiday that was celebrated yesterday was Easter, but the true Passover is April 22nd. So if we're correct in our understanding, I wouldn't take any of this personal. The Easter eggs, the Easter holiday was all celebrated in memorial. Everybody called it Resurrection Sunday, but Resurrection Sunday is truly during Passover weekend, which again is April 22nd. So if we want to be correct on our dates, we got to go according to the Hebrew calendar. So I wouldn't take anything what happened yesterday personal at all. I mean, I truly wouldn't. I think it's more of a protagonist to antagonize people to get upset, and I wouldn't get upset about any of this personally. I mean, I know the issues are mainstream, but we can't do anything about what is going on at this point. We got to pray for the nation. We got to pray for our children, and we got to pray that America can be spared. But at this point, with a big X and a warning signs everywhere, I can't personally tell you where this is going. Now, the most recent report about the cicadas, it's not billions, it's trillions that are coming out of the ground. Now, in Matthew 24, it talks about there being pestilence. This is unheard of. Trillions of locusts and cicadas are going to be coming out of the woodwork. This is unheard of, as I stated just a second ago. I'm putting that link from End Times Headlines News just so that you can watch this program. As far as news, I can't really get into too much news topics because I'm still stumped over this solar eclipse that is about to happen. I'm probably going to be more watching the solar flares in X class if there's any activity because of the Devil's Comet that's coming in as well. I think that with the alignment and everything that's happening, we should be watching for earthquake activity. We should be watching for those type of things. But most importantly, we should be watching for the return of Jesus Christ. That is the biggest part of all this that is missing. These are harbingers. And harbingers, the best, let's just look up here real quick. What is described as a harbinger? And I'm pretty sure a harbinger is the definition of harbinger is a warning. Harbinger is a thing that is announced that signals the approach of another, a forerunner of something. A harbinger is something that is, okay, they don't give you a good definition for it. A herald of a foreshadowing of a future events, an omen or a sign. Okay. I mean, when you see an X, that looks like an omen. Hello? Okay. So that's what I see happening right now, is just watch for the weather. watch for events between now and after the 8th of April. Weather, earthquakes, especially. But the cicadas, that is a big buzzword. For some reason, I'm connecting the dots here. I'm just saying there's something to the cicadas and earthquakes that I can't get past. I'm no seismologist, I'm no expert. Don't get me mixed up with any of that, but for some reason, I'm making this connection that with that kind of activity, if there's any one way to detect activity that would be bizarre, it would be watching animals' behavior. But insects, it's hard to say. That's it for my report. I'll put that link in the description box from End Times Headline News. And have a good night. God bless you. And stay safe. And watch for Jesus' return. He's coming quickly.